Donald Trump was my friend before the riot, and I'm trying to keep a relationship with him after the riot. I still consider him a friend. What happened was a dark day in American history.
Lindsey Graham, the senior United States Senator from South Carolina, has been a fixture in American politics for decades. Known for his sharp wit, Southern drawl, and sometimes maverick stance with his party, Graham has navigated the turbulent waters of Washington, D.C. with a unique personal story tucked away behind his public persona. As we unravel the personal history that shaped one of America's most well-known senators, we'll explore not just the reason Lindsey Graham never married, but the circumstances that molded him into the man he is today. Humble beginnings.
This room was not your bedroom. It wasn't your brother Lindsey's bedroom. It wasn't your parents' bedroom. It was the room where you lived?
It was the one room where we all slept, we all ate, we watched TV, the sofa, everything was in the one room.
Born in 1955, Graham's early years were far from the polished halls of the Senate. His childhood home was the back room of the Sanitary Cafe, a combination pool hall and restaurant owned and operated by his parents, Florence and F.J. Graham. The Sanitary Cafe was more than just a business, it was the heart of Graham's family life. Young Lindsey grew up in an environment that was anything but ordinary. He took baths with water heated up on the stove and shared a bathroom with the bar's patrons. This unconventional upbringing fostered a sense of independence and resilience. In his memoir, My Story, Graham paints a vivid picture of his childhood. He writes about sneaking sips of beer and puffs of cigarettes when patrons weren't looking, earning him the nickname Stinkball among the regulars. While he admits that, quote, parents would probably lose custody of their children today if they let them behave as independently and as rascally as I did, Graham maintains that growing up at the Sanitary Cafe was, quote, a great way to grow up. But it also exposed young Lindsey to the harsh realities of the era. The bar was segregated, a fact that Graham acknowledges with regret in his memoir. Times being what they were, most of our customers were white, he writes. It wasn't until the early 70s that the bar became desegregated, quote, much later than it should have. The turning point.
She had been sick and nothing was happening, and we finally changed doctors. And he pulled up, just really disheveled, and he came in and he was just crying. And he said, your mom's not going to make it. And I think they told him that she was in the last stage of Hodgkin's stage 4.
As Lindsey Graham was finding his footing as a young adult, tragedy struck the Graham family. Within a span of just 15 months, both of his parents passed away. Lindsey was only 22, a college student at the University of South Carolina, where he found himself facing a future without the guiding presence of his mother and father. The loss was devastating, not just emotionally, but practically. Lindsey's sister, Darlene, was only 13 at the time. In an instant, the Graham siblings went from being a typical family to orphans, with Lindsey suddenly thrust into a parental role for which he had never prepared. In recent campaign ads and interviews, Darlene Graham Nordone has shed light on this difficult period. She recounts how Lindsey stepped up in the wake of their parents' deaths, assuring her that he would take care of her and be there for her. Quote, it was hard when we lost my mom and dad, Darlene says. Lindsey assured me that he was going to take care of me. He was going to be there for me. He never let me down. Never. The Responsibility of Brotherhood.
As a young man, I had challenges like most people. I lost my parents when I was 22, had a 13-year-old sister to raise, and with the help from my aunt and uncle, I was able to help her get through college. My family, my friends in faith picked me up when I was down. We kind of got wiped out when my mom got Hodgkin's disease. I'm the first in my family to go to college. But when it comes to being commander-in-chief, and I think that's a very important decision for the country to make, I would argue I'm the best qualified to take this fight to radical Islam and protect this nation above all others, including Hillary Clinton.
Faced with this immense responsibility, Lindsey made a decision that would define the trajectory of his life. Rather than focusing solely on his own future and career prospects, he chose to become a guardian figure for his younger sister. He arranged for Darlene to live with their aunt and uncle in Seneca while he continued his studies at the University of South Carolina. But this was far from an abdication of responsibility. Every weekend, without fail, he would make the journey home to spend time with Darlene. Before joining the U.S. Air Force, He took the significant step of becoming Darlene's legal guardian. This decision was driven by a practical need to provide insurance and benefits for his sister, further demonstrating his dedication to her welfare. The road not taken. It's within the context of familial responsibility that we begin to understand why Lindsey Graham never married. The sudden thrust into a parental role at such a young age inevitably impacted his personal life and romantic prospects. In his memoir, he provides some insight into his bachelorhood with his characteristic self-deprecating humor. He writes, quote, "I've never married. I guess I attribute that to timing too. The opportunity never presented itself at the right time, or I never found time to meet the right girl, or the right girl was smart enough not to have time for me." But behind the quips lies a deeper truth. The time and emotional energy Graham invested in caring for his sister during his formative years likely left little room for pursuing serious romantic relationships. Dr. Elizabeth Lombardo, a psychologist and author, offers insight into the phenomenon. Quote, "When individuals take on significant caregiving responsibilities at a young age, it can delay or alter their personal development trajectory." Near misses.
Your Senate colleagues like you, media likes you,
That's
a lot
nice.
of voters like you because you're a happy-go-lucky guy. And I'm wondering where that comes from.
Well, my dad owned a bar. And if you own a bar, the goal is to get people to come into the bar and stay as long as they can and drink. And the more they like you, the longer they'll drink.
Despite his enduring bachelorhood, Lindsey Graham has come close to marriage on at least one occasion. During his time in the U.S. Air Force, stationed in Germany in the 80s, Graham became involved with a Lufthansa flight attendant named Sylvia. Graham describes the relationship as being serious quickly. He even considered proposing to Sylvia, marking perhaps his closest brush with matrimony. But the relationship ultimately didn't work out. Graham cites the challenges of a long-distance relationship and his desire to return to South Carolina as factors for their separation. He had a girlfriend named Debbie in law school and another named Carol, a JAG officer, during his time in the Air Force. These relationships, while significant, never culminated in marriage. The choice of public service.
It is truly my honor to present to you the next President of the United States, Lindsey Graham.
As Graham's political career began to take shape, his commitment to public service further complicated his personal life. The demands of political life, with its long hours, public scrutiny, and constant travel, can be challenging for even the most stable of relationships. Graham's rise through the political ranks, from the South Carolina House of Representatives to the U.S. House of Representatives, and finally the U.S. Senate, required an immense amount of time and dedication. This commitment to his career, coupled with his ongoing responsibilities to his sister, left little room for cultivating a long-term romantic relationship. In a 2015 interview, Graham reflected on this aspect of his life, quote, "Having a marriage and a good family and children is a blessing, but I don't think I'm a defective person by any means." Public perception and speculation.
Well, I'm very disappointed in Lindsey. I sometimes wonder what uniform he puts on each morning when he goes out to the field to play. And I'm not just talking about the partisan uniform, but I think to bring that kind of criticism and to call the chairman of the House Intel Committee, who is a person of integrity, to call him an Inspector Clouseau, to use those kind of terms basically to diminish him, it's very unfortunate. It's demeaning.
Graham's status as one of the few lifelong bachelors in high-level American politics has inevitably led to public curiosity. In 2018, comedian Chelsea Handler sparked a debate when she implied on social media that Graham might be gay. Graham responded to these comments directly, saying, "Number one, she knows zero about me. To the extent that it matters, I'm not gay." Graham's response to the speculation has consistently been one of dismissal rather than anger. He maintains that his personal life is his own business and that his marital status should not be a factor in evaluating his political career. The legacy of choice.
Date, marry, or disappear forever. Hillary Clinton, Carly Fiorina, Sarah Palin.
I didn't know we were going to do the Mormon thing here.
Date, marry, or make disappear forever. Take your time, Senator. We've got all night.
We can't go beyond dating. That's as far as I'm going dating.
Who do you want to date? Do you want to date Hillary Clinton, Carly Fiorina, or
can't
Sarah
do all
Palin?
three? Okay.
No. So you have to pick one. One of them you date, one of them you marry, and one of them you make disappear
Sarah
forever.
Palin, we'll go hunting on our first date.
As we reflect on Lindsey Graham's personal journey, it becomes clear his bachelorhood is not simply a quirk of fate, but the result of a series of choices and commitments. From the tragedy that befell his family in his early adulthood to his dedication to public service, Graham's life path led him away from the traditional route of marriage and family. Dr. Bella DePaulo, a social psychologist and author of Singled Out, offers this perspective. Quote, society often views lifelong singles through a lens of pity or suspicion, but for many, like Senator Graham, remaining unmarried is a valid life choice that allows them to focus on other priorities, be it career, family responsibilities, or public service. Now it's time to hear from you. How do you think personal responsibilities and life circumstances shape our choices in love and marriage? Let us know in the comments section below.